Hello, American, to our friends around the world. Welcome to the Common Sense Show. We are the show that is freeing America, one enslaved mind and hopefully soul at a time. We defend God, family, country, and we have obviously made some people really angry because on some of our social media, not on our podcast, not on our radio show, not on the website, but some people just don't like what we're telling you. And if we're in error, they should be telling us where we're in error, but we're unpopular. And so a lot of you have complained about your experience, unsubscribed, can't get to my site. I've had my webmaster going to look this at. He said, yeah, some of that's true. Some of that's true. The only thing I can tell you is keep trying. But the thing I would ask you is if you think we have a message here that's useful, you need to take it upon yourself to share. And also, you're probably not going to be notified when we do anything. So you need to come back here on a regular basis. And we publish 4 to 5 items a day of various lengths, and we put it out on our newsletter that you can subscribe to at thecommonsenseshow.com. We are looking at alternatives other than the social media that we're in. We're looking very closely at spaces. Scotty Sachs and I are doing an assessment of that presently, and we're also looking at other sites that we may relocate to permanently. Um, and like I said, we were at 1,700,000 on one site for a month, and now we won't even make 300,000 in July. We'll be lucky to make that. And we're still doing the same kinds of material. So the drop has been artificial. So anyway, you need to come here regularly, and we're asking you to share. And you know you're over the target when you're taking flack, as the old saying goes. We're brought to you by this great product right here, the Nanosoma Liquid Spray. Um, Boosts your immune system to unbelievable levels. It helped me overcome something that was potentially life-threatening, and it gave me back my life. And I'm getting reports. A friend of mine, Jim, who watches our show every day, he was doing an analysis and he said, it's everything you've said, and it's all the Nanosoma products. We encourage you, go to iwantmyhealthback.com, check it out. You'll see, hey, everyone should have this in their medicine cabinet. iwantmyhealthback.com/Dave Hodges. That's where you go. iwantmyhealthback.com/Dave Hodges. Well, we have a real problem in integrity, honesty, morality, spirituality in this country. And I don't pretend to have the answer for everybody, but I can tell you this. If we don't change directions, we're headed closer to being Bosnia of the 1990s than we are America. So as we approach this 250th anniversary date, I think it's really important that we take a look at something here because we are infected with extreme greed and corruption from both corporations and politicians. And by the way, you may have made it legal in Congress, and I'm speaking to the politicians now, to do insider trading based on your congressional exposure and the approval you must give certain things. And then you're given little tips for your cooperation in voting. And you are like Nancy Pelosi, who's going on $1 billion of derived income for insider trading for something that would send you and me to prison for. And they're just fine with that. And they go serve their little term and they get lifetime health care, no denials of service, no experimental treatment excuses, no limitation caps, free for the rest of their life and for their family. You think that's right? And then they serve until they keel over and die, like we see with people like Durbin, McConnell. It's disgusting. Some of these people can't even put two intelligible sentences together, yet they're making decisions that can cause this nation to live or die and the people within it to live or die. And we're entrusting that to people who should arguably be in a nursing home. This is absurd, people. They go to Congress to get rich. We need to take that away from them. We need to put term limitations on them. But that's only one part of the problem. If you look at corporate greed, you don't have to go any further than Ford Motor Company. Now, remember the Klaus Schwab saying from the World Economic Forum, you'll own nothing and be happy. Well, we're not going to be happy, but they're correct in that we'll own nothing. When you buy a 2026 model now, you are purchasing a subscription price. And I've seen a lot of YouTube videos in the last few days before I decided to revisit this issue. And if you have like a door latch go off, a door handle, you have to replace the whole door. You can't go to a junkyard and replace it. They tie it into the entire structure. If your window remote control, if that stops working, you have to replace the whole door. You literally have like 27, 30 computers talking to each other. So if something goes wrong in one area of your truck, you can't open the tailgate. Extremely expensive repairs. And essentially, your car is going to be unrepairable. Like the average wait time right now for you to get your car worked on at a Ford service area is 2 to 4 weeks. And it's bad in all of them. Ford is the worst. And the Ford CEO, I saw him interviewed. All I got to say is I'm glad I'm not a member of his family. The depraved indifference he showed to the economic struggles the middle class is having today and how he's profiteering on his product against traditional norms, and he's gleeful about it, almost jokingly. And no, 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 our cars are so complex now, the average mechanic can't work on it. No, the average mechanic is not given the proprietary tools to work on what they change, so the average mechanic can't work on it. There's no DIY. You've got garages that are going to go out of business like crazy that have been in business maybe for decades, generations, and they're going to be going out of business because they're not going to have cars to buy. No family car shops left. You are a subscriber to your vehicle and you own nothing. And the prices are greatly inflated. So effectively, too, they can't get the repair people trained. So there's great delays. So you'll be without your car forever. Maybe that's the objective. I don't know. I mean, Kamala Harris is jumping up and down because remember, she said, your cars will be gone by 2030. Remember when she made that comment? Well, I won't say it's going to happen by 2030, but here's the thing I'm going to tell you. Anyone who buys, and by the way, I'm going to step aside and say this. I've had this discussion, family discussion today. Take care of your car. Hope you don't get in an accident. Hope you don't total it. Take care of your car. Change the oil regularly. Rotate your tires. Proper maintenance. Because you don't want to buy these pieces of trash that the auto industry is now putting out. 2026 and beyond. You need to avoid at all costs purchasing, or excuse me, subscribing to your automobile. But it's not just automobile. You know, I'll just give you one small snippet out of the world of sports. Used to be when you watched the NBA playoffs, you would have the NBA on CBS, or then it was TNT. Well, now they have some of that, but to watch some of the key games, you had to go to Hulu or Amazon. In other words, you got to pay another subscription price, and you still have commercials the same as you had on network TV. And now you're paying even though you're not attending the game, and they're still commercializing you. It's a scam. This typical, and they did the same thing with the NFL this last year. Your Thursday night games on a subscription service. This is permeating our society. And I just, you remember what Jesus did when he walked through the temple and found all the corruption, turned the tables over. You just wonder what he'd be doing today with corporate America. And what we're seeing here are extreme prohibitions now on free speech. We went through that yesterday. You really have to be careful about criticizing the government policy, corporate policy. If someone does something and it's related to your criticism, but you didn't encourage any violence, you can still be held liable. Oh, you say, oh, that won't happen? Oh, wait until later today and I talk to you about the case of Keone Rodriguez. When I tell you about this case, you're going to be afraid to go out of your house. You won't even say anything confidentially bad about the government or any politician or any corporate CEO because you know you're being listened to. And by the way, back to the car situation, you think you can get spare parts in junkyards? Well, you used to be able to do that pretty easily. The thing I'm going to say to you now, au contraire, mon frere. One of the fastest growing industrial crimes today in America are fires, arson at these junkyards. And it's received some scant coverage in the mainstream media. Some people have actually used their website to say, look at all these cases. You want to believe in coincidences, you can. I have no proof of anything. I'm just saying it's going to be increasingly difficult to work on your car and not have to buy into the system. And some of you will opt to move to closer to your job where you can bike. Uber will get too expensive. But isn't that what they want? Isn't this what the social planners have been telling us for years? Stop using your car. I don't know if it's related to that because why would the auto manufacturers put themselves out of business? Or is this the process of putting themselves out of business, but they're going to profit greatly while they do that? This is a really messed up system. And Americans are angry. They're frustrated at a level that I've never seen. And I've always been really optimistic saying, well, we have options. Well, we do have options with the new cars to some degree. I'd say send them into bankruptcy and don't buy anything. And let that serve as a symbol to anybody else that thinks this exploitation is a good idea. But it's not going to solve all these problems. The biggest monopoly in this country is the Federal Reserve. And when I talk to you about the case of Keone Rodriguez in Samurai Wallet, you're going to be shaking your heads and say, man, I hope they never come after me. Because his case illustrates corrupt prosecutors, corrupt judges, sending people to prison on non-existent offenses. And I've always been a real law and order guy. And you guys who followed me for years know I'm a law and order guy. You do the crime, you do the time. But when you don't do a specific crime, some people are still doing the time and just charging you with the crime, even though they know they can't get a conviction, they'll get a plea deal because they bankrupted you and your lawyer walks away. Oh, yeah, we're going to get into all that. But it's all part of the same animal, people. We are absolutely living in a decadent society. Christian values are absent. Human values, family values are absent. Do you know, I grew up as a young kid, a little time after Leave It to Beaver show came out. But if you go watch that show in reruns, and it's on the old TV stations if you have like Dish and Direct, if you do that, if you watch that, the homes aren't locked. The kids can play at night. All the things that you don't let your kids do now, they were doing. Walking to the movies, coming home at night. If you look at how America was then, you didn't see the extreme feminism, which has really wrecked the dating and marriage world. We'll get into that today too, about what's happening with the birth rate and who that's benefiting. If you just look at the Leave It to Beaver or My Three Sons in the same time frame, you'll see an America there that was based on pretty strong family values, discipline for the kids, schools that taught the three R's and weren't woke oriented. When you look at this in the lens, you'll see how far we have slipped, how decadent we're becoming. Are we Sodom and Gomorrah? I think you could make a pretty good case. And we know how that ended. And people think we're New Babylon and this is going to be our fate of the old Babylon. Could be. We certainly have a Babylonian money system, and we've talked about that, and that started in 1913. And we're gonna touch on a lot of this because first we've got to do problem identification before we can unify and take collective action. But they're trying to prevent you from doing that. They want to put you in prison for doing that. And we'll be talking about the downside risk of this. But if you're silent and you're the wrong type, whatever that type would be, you could be going to prison too in this futuristic society. I read to you yesterday, what was it? National Security Presidential Memorandum number 7, signed by Donald Trump this last week. And it basically is criminalizing being anti-Christian. I'm a Christian, but someone has the right to tell me, I don't respect your religion. I don't like it. They don't have any right to go any further. They can't burn down my church legally. They can't burn up my Bibles. They can't physically assault me because I'm a Christian. But they have the right to say that. Because, see, if they can do that with an anti-Christian view, what else can they protect? What else are you going to be prevented from criticizing? Oh, maybe like letting the marriage happen between the Israeli military and ours? That has to be the most stupid, irresponsible act ever, with the total compromising of military and national security. I don't care who it is, Israel, the UK, Canada, doesn't matter. You don't let people in your front and back door at the same time and give them the key to your safe. And that's what we just did. We have a lot to work through. We are, when you look at Congress and their behavior, we have a revolving den of prostitution running this country right now. We're for sale to the highest bidder. And the Bible has a lot to say about that. If you look at what I wrote yesterday about that memorandum I just mentioned, and I talked about the biblical aspects of looking at this, you can see how far we've slipped. Watch a couple of Leave It to Beavers, though, and look at society today. Look at the kids today, and tell me we don't have a huge set of problems on our hands. I'm Dave Hodges. This is the Common Sense Show. We'll see you back here again next time.